Hello, everybody. It's your old pal, Uncle Bubby, and I'm taking over TGFF Game Day. That's right. Uncle Bobby got rid of all their power, so now I'm the one running Game Day. So week 11, get ready. It's Game Day, TGFF, Uncle Bobby way. All right, now it's time for that old boy named Jay, bringing us a Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming moment of the week. That's right, Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming is brought to you by the old underdog picks. Well, let's see how bad Jay's picks are this week. Take it away, Jay.
Hello, everybody, with your Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming underdog pick of the week. Give me BYU. That's right, BYU, who is a 10.5-point dog versus Texas Tech in Texas Tech's home stadium. I think BYU sneaks in there and sneaks out with a win, and that's not the only one I got. Give me Purdue over Ohio State. It's that time of year when silly crap always seems to happen. Give me that one. And this is, of course, brought to you by Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming, the place to go in Anderson, South Carolina, or in the upstate of South Carolina. Emma will do you right. Her and Felicia, they have been over Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming for years now. Some of the best dog grooming you can get anywhere in the South. Make sure you give them a call. That's Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming in Anderson, South Carolina. Give Emma a call. Their link is on our website, greenvillesportsmedia.com. And hopefully Ralphie will be back next week to give you his picks.
Well, let's go in to the coach's box, giving us the SEC update. Brought to you by Pepsi Cola. That's right, the SEC, the way where the so-called big boys play. That's right, it just means more. Well, I don't believe it, but the coach's box is gonna bring it to us anyway. Take it away, guys.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week of our SEC Weekly Preview. I'm Coach Halley from the Coach's Box, Call It Like We See It podcast, and Off the Rails Media. I'm here again this week to preview just a couple of SEC games for you, like we have the last few weeks. And we're going to see just a little bit of kind of how the stretch run for the SEC is looking. We're going to talk about 3 games like we have in the past. And there's some pretty good matchups this week. Not everybody's in. It's a bye week for some of those teams. We're going to pass on the Citadel game against whoever they're playing from the SEC because that shouldn't even be a game anymore. Why are we still scheduling the Citadel? I have no idea. We need to stop doing that. All right. So let's get right into it. But first, actually, let's take one moment to say something about our presenting sponsor from Pepsi. This SEC preview segment is brought to you by Pepsi. Whether you're gearing up for game day, hanging out with friends, or just need that perfect, refreshing break, nothing hits the spot quite like an ice-cold Pepsi. Bold, crisp, and always refreshing, Pepsi is the taste that fuels the moment. So crack open a Pepsi and go watch some SEC football. All right. We are definitely going to preview the Texas A&M at Missouri. As you can see behind me, yes, I am a Missouri fan, but we'll get more into that later as we go. All right. But the first game we're going to preview is the new look LSU Tigers that nobody knows what they're going to look like this week, post Brian Kelly, going to number 4 Alabama. Alabama is a 10.5-point favorite. It's the 7:30 p.m. game Saturday night, and it's probably the marquee game of the week in the SEC. Even though only one of the teams is ranked. But the big question is going to be, what does LSU look like under interim coach Frank Wilson? I don't think anybody has any idea because they didn't have much of an identity under Brian Kelly, especially offensively. They're trying to win games defensively, but I don't know if they've got enough offense to be able to help their defense out. That only goes so far, and it showed in the second half of that Texas A&M game last week where they just got waylaid. Um, so I'm gonna say the LSU defense would have to play lights out, their best game, out of their mind, all those analogies that we can talk about in order for LSU to even have a chance to win this game. Um, but LSU, if LSU can run the ball, which they haven't all year, they've been horrible. I think they ran the ball well against Southeast Louisiana. That's not a good sign going up against Alabama in their front. Now, Alabama does have some. They have shown some vulnerability on that D line, especially trying to defend against the run this year. It showed in the Missouri game. It showed in the Vanderbilt game. Um, but I don't know that LSU can run the ball well enough. I don't think they're good enough in the trenches up front offensively to be able to do enough to keep that keep the Alabama offense off the field and allow their defense to get rested. I see this Alabama offense under Ty Simpson just he won't win the game himself. Ty Simpson won't. But I think when they go to the run game against LSU and be able to chew up some of that clock and wear down that defense by the third quarter and fourth quarter, I think that defense is just going to be so tired they're not going to be able to defend. Um, so I'm going to say while LSU gets a little bit of a spark under the interim coach, they all like Frank Wilson. I've heard lots of great things during player interviews this week about his role and what he does with those players. They'll get a little bit of a spark there, but going to Brian Denny Stadium under the lights against number 4 Alabama, it's a 28-17 win for Bama. Probably could be more, but I bet you it's I'm going to go 28-17. Alabama barely covers the spread on this one. Um, Next, we're going to move on to Auburn at Vanderbilt. There's a theme here between these two games. It won't go into the third one, but the theme here is uh, teams with new coaches and how do they fare. So we're going to see how does Auburn post Hugh Freeze, um, how do they fare against a number 16 Vanderbilt, who is a 6.5 point favorite. Um, how do they fare after coming off of that close loss at Texas last week? Um, Man, the Vanderbilt offense and Diego Pavia didn't look particularly good last week, and they somehow still almost found a way to get themselves back into that game at the end. So this will be a defining moment for Vanderbilt. Are they really for real, or um, can Auburn get enough of a spike from being the post Hugh Freeze under new coach? I don't even know who their new coach is. I should have looked that up, but I don't think it matters at all because I don't think Auburn's very good at all. Auburn's offense is horrible. They can't throw the ball. They can't run the ball. They can't block. They can't catch. And their defense doesn't do anything special enough. This is now, I haven't seen this team outside of Hugh Freeze, but I thought they were so wildly disorganized as a team. And you can see some of that on those fan blogs that you never really knew what you were going to get out of Auburn. But they found ways to stay close in games. I think a lot of their games are one possession losses. I think that doesn't happen here. I think Vanderbilt gets off the schneid. While they did look vulnerable last week, I think they get back on track this week. And I'm picking Vanderbilt in a 28-10 win over Auburn. All right. And our third game is our only SEC game that features two ranked teams. Number 3 Texas A&M, the 7.5 point favorite, at number 22 Missouri. The real question here as a Missouri fan is as I'm looking at this game, do I look at it with my head? Do I look at it with my heart? Because my head says one thing, my heart wants to say something completely separate, and I'm going to give you both here in just a little bit. But Texas A&M is really, really good, and they showed it in that second half against LSU. They looked unstoppable last week in that second half. Marcel Reed is gaining very quickly in the Heisman talk, and going to put himself in one of those chairs at New York to give himself a chance. So that's one quarterback situation, a very solid situation at A&M. And Missouri has an unknown. They have freshman Matt Zollers making his first start after the injury to Bo Perbula last week, who'll be out for a little bit. Zollers looked pretty good in the time that he had against in the game last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. And last game, he looked pretty good. He's had a couple of weeks to prepare, and I think he's going to be ready to go. He looks like a gamer. That's also the heart versus the head talking. Freshman quarterback versus upstart quarterback. So the real battle here, though, is going to be A&M's offensive line, a very, very good offensive line, against a very, very good defensive line in Missouri led by Zion Young. They have wreaked havoc in all of these in their last few games against ranked opponents. They were in the backfield a bunch against Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia and gave Vanderbilt a look that they hadn't seen, where Pavia used to, for the first part of the season, was just able to do whatever he wanted back there with no pressure, and Mizzou was able to bring pressure on that offensive line that hadn't been giving it up, and they did the same thing Mizzou did against Alabama several weeks ago as well. So if Mizzou can bring pressure on A&M and get Marcel Reed off of his looks, off of his reads, and off of his spots, I think it gives them a chance, because this defense will keep them in games. The offense just has to be given the opportunity and do enough against a really good Texas A&M defense to try to put some points on the board. It's going to be very hard for them to do that, I think. So I've got two picks here with this. My brain says one thing. My brain says A&M 34-17. I think A&M's really, really good. I think Mizzou is really good. I don't know. The unknowns of Matt Zollers at quarterback and what he can do for this offense, really, for a whole game, needs to be seen. And it's trial by fire going against the number 3 team in the country. But my heart says Mizzou wins 31-28 on a last-minute play. So I don't know. You can take whatever pick you want there with that. My fandom says one thing, and any of you guys that are fans that say I'm a homer, that's fine. I'm okay. I'm okay with being a homer for Mizzou, because I'm a fan, and any of you fans for all of years, you would do the same thing as well. So, so those are our 3 games for the week. It should be a good week of football. All kinds of good games all over the country. Have yourself a Pepsi. Tune in and watch some football this week. Until next week, we'll see you later.
All right, now we gotta listen to Jay again. Oh my goodness, this gets old. I don't see how Justin puts up with this. But anyway, let's go to Jay with the Southern Conference news and notes, and let's see if he can actually pick some right picks this week. Take it away, Jay. Again, I tell you, I'm gonna get with somebody about taking over this show each and every week. This is crazy, these guys.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay with TGFF Game Day, giving you our Southern Conference news and notes for Week 11 here in the college football. All right, well, let's start it off. And it's going to start off at 12 o'clock with Furman traveling to UTC. That's right, UTC. And Furman will be hooking up this coming Saturday at 12 o'clock. And this is a game of 2 teams that really need to finish off strong this season. Furman, of course, wants to finish out their season with 2 wins in the Southern Conference with UTC and VMI before heading to Clemson right before Thanksgiving in a game that they actually might have a chance in. But let me have Furman in this game over UTC. I think UTC is still a great team. I think Furman's going to come out wanting this game just a little bit more, and it's going to be something like a 24-21 ball game. Next up is Citadel traveling to Mississippi. That's right, Ole Miss, number 6 in the nation. The Citadel, they're going to be overmatched in this game. Ole Miss is going to take this game and make they are just known for just putting points up on people and not respecting the rule. Well, I shouldn't say rule, underwritten rule of, once you've won, let it be. But it's up to the Citadel to actually get the stops. So this is going to be like a 55-7 ball game. So That's who I got in this game. Next game up is Wofford traveling to VMI. VMI, I actually got to see it play Citadel this past weekend. Very good team. Coach Rocco's done a great job with VMI. Wofford travels to VMI. I think that's going to be the difference. Let me have VMI in their first win of the season over Wofford, and that's going to be my upset of the week. All right, then we come to the game of the year in the Southern Conference. We're talking about Mercer traveling to Western Carolina. Two high-powered offenses, pretty decent defenses. This game is going to be crazy. It's going to be physical, and it's going to be played at Western Carolina, which is why I am going to give Western Carolina the win in this game, and I think it's going to be crazy. I don't even know where to start. I think it's going to be like a 38-37 ball game. I think both teams are going to play decent, but let me have Western Carolina in the win over Mercer. And then finally, we have ETSU traveling to Sanford, and that game is at 3:30. This game, give me ETSU. I think they finish out the year strong over Sanford, so I think this game will be something like a 28-14 ball game. All right, this is the Southern Conference news and notes as we get ready for basketball season. I want to thank, of course, Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina and Beef and Rib in Westminster, South Carolina, for sponsoring our segment each and every week. Thank you, and we appreciate you. That's Donnie and Angie. And we want to say also thank you to Dorsey Auto Sales. We want to thank you, Greenville Sports Media, for providing TGFF Game Day all year. And this has been the Southern Conference News and Notes.
Well, the only good thing about that segment, it was brought to us by Beef and Rib and Arden's Burger and Grill, the places where you can go eat some great food at a great price. That's right, I love me some stuff from there. All right, well, folks, let's go to Mark in the Big Ten. That's right, brought to you by... Who is it brought to you by? Mark will tell us, because Mark's smart, unlike Jay and Justin. Take it away, Mark, with the Big Ten news and notes.
What is up, fans of TGFF Game Day? This is your Big Ten expert, Mark, getting ready to talk to you about this weekend's Big Ten matchups. Got a few good ones, some that are kind of intriguing, some that in the beginning of the season, look like they're going to be more intriguing than what they are. We'll definitely dive right into that. Just to kind of let you guys know right now, this segment is brought to you by Cowboy Revolution. Please make sure you go check them out for your gear. Mention Greenville Sports Media, you get 10% off any of your purchases. This weekend should be an interesting weekend. I plan on jumping right into those games here in just a little bit. But let's kind of just talk about where we stand with the Big Ten. Right now, like I said, you still got the three prime teams right now: Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon. Oregon's still on the outside looking in, as they did suffer that one loss to Indiana. But they still are in contention for the Big Ten championship and definitely a strong playoff contender. But right now, those are your three top teams. However, there are some surprising teams that are playing there right now that are still in the hunt. Right now, you have USC, University of Southern Cal. They do play against Northwestern this Saturday, and that should definitely be a good matchup. But USC is very, very quietly, still creeping in there and in that conversation. So right now, as we come down to the home stretch, it's going to be really, really interesting to watch. But I got a few games that I definitely wanted to pick up on that definitely did catch my eye. The first one, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this one. It's Indiana versus Penn State. Now, this one did seem a little more intriguing, before Penn State did have the drop-off. Indiana right now is looking phenomenal, but this could be that trap game for Indiana because right now Penn State, they're not short of talent. They just really haven't found their way. It's been a really, really rough season, losing Drew Allar, losing James Franklin, so they're kind of trying to just find their way. They did have a very, very good first half against Ohio State, but just couldn't put the pieces together. However, Indiana, although they have a great offense, their defense is not anywhere near what Penn State is. I think this is a chance for Penn State to. They don't have nearly the defense that Ohio State had in Indiana. I think this is a chance for Penn State to put together to be a spoiler. I'm going to take an upset in this one. People might think I'm crazy, but I really, really do think Penn State's going to pull out the upset on this one in a very, very close one. I just think that they're going to wake up. I think they're going to play some inspired football. Right now they don't have anything to lose, and that's really, really a dangerous team. So give me Penn State, and this is a big upset this weekend. Second one is going to be Northwestern and University of Southern California. Right now, like I said, both of these two teams are playing really good football. Northwestern, they're at 5-3. USC is at 6-2. Both teams are playing some great football right now, especially in conference, trying to get into the conference race. Northwestern, I think, is about fell out, but USC, they still are strongly in contention. And I really think that, like I said, without a strong finish this season, Lincoln Riley's job could be in the hot seat. I really think so. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take USC in this one. So definitely going to take the Trojans over Northwestern in what should be a really good football game. Last but not least, Oregon versus Iowa. Now, this is intriguing because, as everybody knows, Oregon, they have a fantastic offense. Right now, like I said, Dante Moore playing extremely good football. Those guys, Dan Lanning's doing a great coaching job as he always does. But Iowa, this is at Iowa. And Iowa's, has that staunch defense. I think this is going to be a really, really tough one. But at the end of the day, I think Oregon's going to figure out that Iowa defense. Give me Oregon in a very, very close game at Iowa. So that's going to go ahead and conclude this roundup. But like I said, definitely keep a lookout on for any more news on the Big Ten. Because we're coming down to home stretch. It's going to be an exciting last couple of weeks of the season. So definitely keep watching as we'll continue to unravel what's going to happen here as we get closer to championship week. You guys have a great evening. Enjoy those games this weekend.
All right. This week's ACC moment is brought to you by Uncle Bobby and Clemson Family Wish. Make sure you go to ClemsonFamilyWish.com and donate some good money to these kids and these adults that really need the money and they need the time and they need your love. Make sure you go do that. Uncle Bobby approves them for sure. Let's talk about the ACC. Well, we're just going to talk about a couple games. First of all, I want to talk about my Clemson Tigers. They taking on FSU. That's right at 7 p.m. Give me them Clemson Tigers over them old Seminoles. I can't believe the Seminoles beat Wake Forest last week, but you know what? This week it's going to be different. Give me Clemson over FSU. And the next game I want to talk about is my Demon Deacons from Wake Forest. That's right. They're going to be taking on Virginia. And it's going to be a ranked game. Oh, that's right. Virginia, you got lucky. Well, you ain't getting lucky this week. Because Uncle Bobby's telling you that Wake Forest is going to beat you up. That's right, they're going to take you down. And that's Uncle Bobby's ACC news and notes because there's nobody else I want to talk about this week. But I love those games right there. All right, well, let's talk about some of these picks of the week. I'm telling you right now, I just am going to bypass all of them and go straight to Uncle Bobby's Picks of the Week. Brought to you by Point RB at Lake Hartwell and Cheerwine. Let's play my video of the Picks of the Week. You're going to love them. Hello everybody, it's your old pal Uncle Bobby, and I'm here to give you my picks of the week. That's right, my picks of the week. And I snuck into Jay's place, and I found out what he was looking at. So here's my picks of the week. Of course, let me have them Clemson Tigers over FSU. Oh, you ain't gonna get no chopping going on at Clemson this year. That's right. Dabo's got them boys ready this week, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to be Clemson over them FSU Seminoles. All right, and then another one I'm going to pick. Give me California over Louisville in an upset. That's right, California over Louisville in an upset. And then finally, Give me Stanford over UNC in Tar Heel country. That's right. It's not gonna be hunting for whitetail. It's gonna be hunting for them Rams. That's right. Give me Stanford over UNC. That's right. And ACC weekend.
Hey everybody, what is happening? It is Adam with the Mountain West portion of the program for the second weekend in November for this college football season. Hard to believe we're already at week 11. Unreal. So the Mountain West Conference doesn't really have too big of a slate this weekend. Only 4 contests on the docket. We're going to review 3 of those, my 3 games of the week. But before we get to that, we need to talk about what happened last week. Several big contests ended up shaking up the Mountain West Conference standings as well as the conference race. We'll start in Boise, Idaho, probably the biggest upset of the weekend in the Mountain West Conference, and maybe even in the country. Fresno State rocked Boise State 30-7, ending Boise State's long conference winning streak as well as their home winning streak, basically turning the Mountain West Conference title race on its ear, both in the regular season and what could be the postseason. Excuse me. Fresno State, with the win, gets to bowl eligibility, but even bigger, Boise State's loss has now brought in a whole bunch of other teams that are right there really, really close. For example, San Diego State, who beat Wyoming 24-7, now sits atop the conference undefeated. And with the way their schedule shakes out, they could head into the conference championship game as the undefeated team in the regular season. Who would have had that on their scorecard? Speaking of which, UNLV was hoping that the Boise State loss would bring them back into it, but they didn't take care of business at home as New Mexico went in there and stunned UNLV by a final of 40-35. New Mexico is now bowl eligible as well at 6-3 with their second road victory on the season. Elsewhere, San Jose State upset Hawaii 45-38, and it was Army taking care of Air Force 20-17. Now, what did the standings do? Well, basically now there's 5 teams within a game and a half of the lead. San Diego State sits on top at 4-0. Boise State is 4-1 in conference. And then you have 3 teams all sitting at 3-2. Those teams are Fresno State, Hawaii, and New Mexico. We still have pretty much 3 weeks to go in the regular season. A lot can still happen between now and Thanksgiving weekend when the regular season for the Mountain West Conference ends. This conference race has just been blown wide open, and there's a couple of games this weekend that will help to kind of deciding what happens there. And I haven't even gotten to the 6th and 7th place teams in UNLV and Utah State still in this at 2-2 records in the conference, and even San Jose State, 8th overall in conference, still at 2-2, and still with a shot to make the Mountain West Conference Championship. So our 3 games of the week, we're going to visit Nevada taking on Utah State. That game is at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports Network. Utah State is 4-0 at home. A win goes a long way, not only to making it to bowl eligibility, but again, I just said that they're still not even out of the conference championship race. Nevada is 0-4 on the road. So, I mean, they're really, really struggling. So this is a perfect spot for Utah State to get right. Utah State is a 9.5-point favorite entering this. The total is at 53.5. Bryson Barnes, the dual threat quarterback for Utah State, I believe he's going to be the key player in this game. Up until a couple weeks ago when they lost to New Mexico, he had 5 consecutive games of where he rushed for over 40 yards. He only had 4 yards rushing against New Mexico a couple of weeks ago. He also had only 164 yards passing. That was his second lowest total of the season. I think with Nevada struggling on the road, Utah State dominating at home, this is a place to get right for Utah State and to stay alive not only for the conference championship game, but also for the, bowl eligibility that we just talked about. So I like Utah State to win big in this one. I like them 31-7 in this contest. That brings us to our second game of the week. It's UNLV versus Colorado State. This game is at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. UNLV has 2 losses in a row. Colorado State, 2 losses in a row. Colorado State's coming off a bye week after they lost 28-0 against Wyoming. That coming on the heels of firing their head coach, Jay Norvell. UNLV lost to Boise State. Then they turned around and lost to New Mexico last week. Their two losses have basically, along with Boise State's loss last week, are the ones that have kind of blown this open. Right now, Anthony Colandrea is probably going to be the player of the game to watch in this one. He has 3 consecutive games of 215 plus passing yards. He went for a season high last week in the loss to New Mexico at 382. Colorado State allows 221 passing yards a game. They're favored by 4.5. I think UNLV gets it done against Colorado State big time in this one by a final of 31-10. Our game of the week takes place out in the island, 9 p.m. Mountain Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Spectrum Sports. 7-1 and undefeated in the conference at 4-0. San Diego State visits 6-3 Hawaii, also 3-2 in conference. A win here by the Rainbow Warriors would set this conference on fire and basically brings 9 teams back into the hunt, including Wyoming, depending on what happens with the Cowboys this weekend. However, a big win for Hawaii would also kind of set them up for controlling their own destiny in order to make the conference championship game. Now, San Diego State's defense only allows 10 points per game on the season. They're coming off a stellar performance last week in which they won 24-7, and then the week prior they shut out Fresno State 23-0. This one's going to be really interesting because right now San Diego State is favored by 6.5. The total is at 49.5. But Micah Alahedo, the Hawaii quarterback, has 4 consecutive games of 300 yards passing. 2 of those contests he threw for over 400 yards. In that 4-game span, he's thrown for 12 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. 3 touchdowns in each of the contests. This is going to be a really, really interesting matchup of the Hawaii passing game versus the San Diego State pass defense. Calling for the upset here. Like Hawaii, 34-30 in this one. All right, one other game this weekend. It's Air Force visiting San Jose State. Everybody else is on a bye week this week. Well, that takes care of the Mountain West portion of the show. Hopefully you enjoy week 11 in college football, and I'll see you guys next week. Follow me on X at SSN New Mexico. Take care, everybody.
Tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.